When I was a child, my favorite section in the library was the biography section. I was always fascinated by the shelves and shelves full of accounts of extraordinary men and women who did things that changed our world. And as an 8-year-old, my only goal at that time was that someday I wanted a biography written about me. Pretty simple. All I had to do was change the world, right? And get this, everyone from Mother Teresa to Michael Jordan to Al Capone had a book written about them. So I didn't even have to be a good person. All I had to do was be famous and be somebody, and I'd be immortalized in a book forever. So what does that even mean, be somebody? Well, conventional wisdom tells us that a successful person is someone who is at the top of their field, is someone who is high-powered and highly visible. Now, fast forward a few years to when I was 18 years old. I still had that same goal in mind, to someday have a biography written about me. But as a high school senior, I was rejected by my dream school. I had no idea what I wanted to study or what I wanted to do with my life. And on top of that, it seemed like all my friends had their lives fully planned out and all their career paths finalized, while I was just aimlessly wandering through life. And I asked myself that same question again. What does it mean to be somebody? And to find the answer, I looked at the tools that we use every single day. There are 3 tools that we use to experience any experience in our lives. These tools are essential for gaining any experience. They are the body, the mind, and the intellect. From the Greek philosophers Plato and Aristotle to the 20th century Hindu saint Swami Chinmayananda, the body, mind, and intellect have intrigued philosophers for centuries. Through the use of our 5 senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, we experience the world of objects through the body. Now, mind and intellect may seem like they're the same thing, but for the purpose of this talk, let's define the mind as the seat of emotions, and let's define the intellect as the realm of thought and analysis. The psychologist W. Jared Perot identified over 100 different human emotions, everything ranging from adoration and affection to revulsion and contempt. Now, we feel these emotions all the time. And emotions are common to every living creature. Even animals feel emotions. But what sets us apart is that we have the ability as humans to analyze these emotions and make actions out of them. We have an intellect. And through this mighty intellect, we discriminate between right and wrong, and we have the power of reason and judgment. Now, when these 3 tools, the body, mind, and intellect, are not properly integrated, you can run into some problems. When I was a freshman in college, UT Dallas had recently opened a sushi bar. And I'd never had sushi before, I'm a vegetarian. But I went inside and found that they had vegetarian sushi. It was rice paper, surrounded by rice, wrapped with carrots inside, tomatoes, and avocados. I really enjoyed it. And once I got my tray, I noticed that on the side, there was a dab of this green substance. And I figured, okay, it had avocado inside, that must be guacamole, right? See, you're using your intellects to judge me right now, I can feel that. So, I really love avocados. So, I used my senses, and I took a dab of it on my chopsticks and put it in my mouth. I was horrified to find that that was not guacamole, it was wasabi. And instantly, my body went into a rage. It just didn't know what was happening. My tongue was on fire. My eyes were watering, not just from the spiciness and the heat, but from the pain of my burning tongue. And my mind, I had so many emotions coming in of sadness and just anger. How could this happen? My intellect was shouting at me, "You idiot, why did you do this?" So when the body, mind, and intellect aren't integrated, this is what happens. So we often characterize success by our accomplishments and our achievements. We identify so closely with our accomplishments that we even gauge our self-worth based on not who we really are, but on what we've done. So the problem arises when instead of working through the body, mind, and intellect, we identify with them. And every desire that we have, we do it to satisfy the body, mind, and intellect. These are 3 tools that are merely used to gain an experience in the world. We cannot be attached to them. But by becoming attached to them, we lose focus of what's important, and we only focus on satisfying those needs. So there's one example of an old fable that I'll tell you. So originally, there was one human, a mule, a dog, and an owl. Now, each of these individuals was given 30 years to live. They were all happy. But then the mule, the dog, and the owl each decided that 30 years was far too long to live. They were okay with 10. So they asked the human, do you mind if we give you, 20 of our years? And of course, the greedy human said, yes, bring it on. So now the human lives till he's 90 years old. So for the first 30 years of our lives, we live like humans. We cultivate our likes and dislikes. We hone our talents. We have all these different experiences in life, and we find an ideal to live by. But then from the age of 30 to 50, you live the life of a mule, pretty much working for that sadistic boss, for your family, driving them around all the time, sitting in that somber peloton of Monday morning traffic week after week. And for what? That imaginary carrot of success, advancement, and wealth. And we go through that cycle. Now, that's 30 through 50. Once you get from 50 through 70, we live the life of a dog, aggrandizing all we can, like a dog burrowing and burying its bone. We want to save for future generations and for our family so that they may have easier lives. So all we care about is grabbing and making sure we save as much as we can. And then, if we're lucky enough to make it from the ages of 70 to 90, we live the life of an owl, where we're retired and our bodies may be debilitating, and we can just sit and watch the world go on. Humans have gone through this cycle for centuries, over and over and over again. And for what? To be somebody. But at the point when we try to break this cycle, and we don't give in to the demands of our bodies, minds, and intellects, that's when we're not somebodies, but we're nobodies. We refuse to live by the rules that tell us that success is just going through this body, mind, and intellect and satiating yourself by fulfilling every desire. We live for an ideal. So, similar to how there are 3 tools that we use, there are also 3 types of workers in the world. The selfish worker, the inspired worker, and the person of achievement. So the selfish worker. This is the person who gets up, goes to work, earns a wage, comes home, spends the wage, done. That's his life. Nothing else really matters. No ideal, no morals, no nothing. Just earning that money, spending it on himself and his family, and that's life. Nothing wrong with that, but that's how he lives. There's a second type of person. This is a more rare breed of people. This is a person who is an inspired worker. They have an ideal that they want to work for, a certain goal that helps humanity, and they will stop at nothing to make sure that goal is realized. They focus on the results of their actions and make sure that that result helps everyone. This is a rare breed of people. Now, the third type is the most rare and the best. This is a person of achievement. The person of achievement works not for profit, not for any respect, not even for the result of his actions. The person of achievement works merely for getting the job done. And the work itself is the reward, not even the result. The person of achievement is the human rights worker, who is not afraid to be in prison and still works for their cause. The person of achievement is a public health worker, who, in the face of an epidemic that grips a nation and scares an entire country, they work, knowing that their patients may die, yet they still work to make sure that nothing bad happens. Now, looking at the biographies that I had read, I came across one such story of a person of achievement, and that was Washington Roebling. So there was once an engineer named John Roebling who had a dream. He wanted to build a bridge that connected Brooklyn to Long Island. And many engineering experts at the time laughed at him, said it's never been done. Why are you wasting your time? There's no point in even doing that. But he stuck to his guns and made a plan to build this bridge. And he actually worked with his son, Washington Roebling, who was a great engineer in his own right. So work began on the bridge, and one day there was an accident on site, and sadly, John Roebling perished, and his son, Washington Roebling, suffered heavy brain damage. But Washington wanted to see his father's dream through, and he wanted to have this bridge built. So he worked for years to make it happen. It finally got to the point where Washington Roebling's body had debilitated so much that the only working part of his body was one finger. And with that one finger, He devised a method of communication where he would tap on his wife's arm, and she would give those instructions to the architects, and they would build the bridge. This process took 13 long years, but the bridge was finally built, and this bridge now services over 120,000 vehicles a day. We now know it as the Brooklyn Bridge. It connects Brooklyn and Manhattan. So John Roebling surpassed his body, mind, and intellect. His body was debilitating. One finger working, he still pushed through, ignoring the pain. His mind, so many emotions must have crept up into his mind. Feelings of not being able to do it, feelings of everyone laughing at him, telling him that this is not a goal worthwhile. His intellect must have taken a hit as well, people questioning his sanity. He was not out to make this bridge happen just for spite. He wanted to help people. At the same time, he knew that it might not even be built and that his legacy would be tarnished. But none of that mattered. And because of that, he was a person of achievement. So now I think back to the goal that I had as a kid, and even as a teenager, to someday have that biography written about me. Thinking back, that's a very misguided goal. I wanted to be successful just for the sake of being successful. I really had no ideal to reach for. I wanted to be a somebody. But being a nobody means detaching yourselves from those tools and finding an ideal to work for. And I'll be honest, I still haven't found that ideal to live my life by, but if there's one thing I've realized, it's that if I'm a nobody and I work for something, I will be a somebody. Thank you.